Now, according to the 2019 census report, 5.3 million Kenyan youths out of the possible 13.7, this amounts to 39% are still currently jobless. And this is what continues to create the sharp divide between the rich and the poor in Kenya. This is why possible interventions are being marred, particularly when it comes to getting skill-based education, TVET'S institution, vocational training, and revamping all this to just ensure that at least we can bridge this gap and reduce on the number of unemployed youths in the country. This is what I'm set to converse in the next 35 minutes with my guest. That is Dr. Esther Mworia, Principal Secretary, TVET'S. Welcome, Daktari.
Thank
and
you.
Just first things first.
Yes.
Because yours was a very peculiar, interesting case. Why? November last year, hours after just being sworn in as the county secretary in Embu, the president nominates you to the Ministry of Education as PS TVET'S. What was going through your mind at this point?
I was amazed. Let me say, at most, thank you very much, first of all, for having me. It's a pleasure. It was amazing because I was sworn in as the county secretary for Embu on the 1st of November on a Tuesday evening, and the following day, and I started actually taking over the office. The following day, we had a battery of meetings with the governor. So I was with my predecessor. We were having one meeting after the other, and then and we would have a meeting at the boardroom, then in the governor's office, because we had very many meetings. And then at one point, as we are passing through the corridors, the people around the corridor start asking me, "Oh, madam, you don't want to celebrate?" And I thought they were telling me to celebrate my getting sworn in the county secretary, and I was too busy even to pay attention. So at one point we were having the Embu professionals meeting with the governor. So we went in, and since I know them anyway, I wasn't very keen on them introducing themselves. So that's when I picked my phone just to check as the introductions were going on. And then I see there is a nomination. I was so shocked. I was so surprised. Now I can't walk out of the meeting, and because
you hadn't expected this.
No, I hadn't really expected it, but I had applied. I had gone for the interviews, and I was waiting like everybody else. And then, wow, I see the nomination. I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised, and the rest of the day I was in some kind of limbo. I have a lot of work here to do, and I have the nomination now to appreciate. It was a heart-rendering experience.
Nonetheless,
yes.
3 months later, this is now around February, almost getting into March.
Yes.
As the principal secretary in the Ministry of Education, particularly TVET'S, and this is where your heart is. And just looking at what the State Department of TVET'S is doing, talking about identifying vocational education as a pathway for green jobs. First of all, what does this even mean?
You're right, Doreen. This is. I got into a space, okay, still coming from education background, yes. I got into a space that has become very exciting for me. Why? I see it as a space that is capable of transforming the youth of this country, as a space that is going to change, that should change the job story in this country, and a space that could even transform this country to another level of development. Why? Because I remember when we had technical institutions in this country, like people were going to Kagumo Teachers Training College, and then there was Nyeri technical training college. When we had the real technical colleges, some of which were transformed into universities, we produced people who are able to do a lot of technical work. Like there's a time we used to have the agricultural extension officers trained in these middle level colleges, and they were doing tremendous work. Then we started overemphasizing, maybe for the right thing, on the university education. And I think we need to trace our steps back there because we need the technical people in this country. When you go out there now looking for a plumber, a person who can do real plumbing work, they are not there. When you look for people who can weld meticulously, they are not there. So we need to retrace our steps. We need to tell our youth that this is where real employment. Because I have for a while now told a story of a house I saw because I've been in Jomo Kenyatta. Yes. So I've been going through Roiro every day, and I saw a building coming up. And I saw it completed, and I'm the same person who still saw water oozing through the walls. That means you can imagine the kind of plumber who did that work. I saw it coming up, and I saw the water pouring when I'm still on that road. So what we are saying is that the skill set in this country needs to be rethought in a very serious manner. And this, Doreen, I can tell you, I am very passionate about because I have real experience of skill sets that are missing in this country, not just in this country, but even internationally. We have been told, we have been asked for people to work outside this country who have the skills. We don't have them, and they're needed. And then like even our younger sisters who are going to look for jobs in the Middle East, and they end up in trouble. You know why? Because they don't have the housekeeping skills. They are necessary. This is a girl or a young woman who has come from the village. She's never seen a microwave. Those are the things they're finding in the kitchens of these ladies in these countries. So we need to get them, bring them to our institutions, skill them in modern house management, and then they can go and get pertinent jobs there, and they're going to earn a lot of money in form of dollars. So for me, I see this as a space which we can change a lot of things, not only in terms of the employability of our youth, but also in terms of having a lot of foreign exchange flow back into this country.
But you've said something very pertinent, which I'd like us to broach a little bit further. When you touched on the particular issue of churning out more universities, because you did talk about Nyeri, you talked about Kagumo, and just almost recently we had our very own Kenya Polytechnic being transferred to Technical University of Kenya. Oh yes. So do you think this was a downsize on our part as a country, such that we are sort of like collapsing TVET'S and making them university institutions at the benefit of who?
Doreen, I think for the benefit of Kenyans, and that was the thinking then. That was the thought line then, and we may not really be able to blame anyone for that thinking, because just like we did with the girl child, a point came when we thought the girl child was down there. We overemphasized the issue of the girl child. Now the girls, oh my goodness. Now we are going back to the boy. Same story. We had it right. Maybe it was good to emphasize on university education and to really think that we all needed to get to that space. We needed to encourage our youth to get to that space. Okay, we have been there long enough. Now can we, and then in the process, just like I've given the analogy of the girl, we realize, no, there's somebody we left behind. The skills. We left the skills behind. So we need to retrace our footsteps and go back there and start pushing it up all over again. We need to start communicating to our youth and telling them this is the space to go and showing them the benefits. We even need to talk to ourselves. We who are in government, let me tell you, it is not everybody who is still looking at it from the same lenses like me and you maybe. There are those who still think we should stay in this space which we had already created. So we had reasons to push the university agenda up, but we have now done it enough. Can we now go back? Like we are going back to the boy child. and now tell everyone it is about skills. This is what we need in this country. This is what we need out there.
And you're talking about skills.
And skills.
And skills.
Yes.
So then, from where you sit,
Yes.
how then do we start reorienting these young people? Because, look at this. Going by that 2019 census report, 5.3 million Kenyan youths out of the possible 13.7 million are still jobless.
Yes.
And what we know over time is that go to primary school, go to secondary, go to university, go get a white-collar job. How do we begin reorienting their minds to start thinking of even vocational training, skills, TVET? What do we do?
I am not underestimating the extent of the work that must be done here. We have spoken and we have overemphasized the white collar space for a long time until it has become a culture. Culture change, Doreen, is not easy, but it's got to be done. So what I am doing at the department, for instance, right now, I have come up with what we call national information and a communique. Really, we are calling it NITCAS. I'm getting the name in communication and advocacy strategy. A communication and advocacy strategy, where we want to get all the people who can speak my language to speak into it, and we get like you people in the press to blow it up, so that we put it everywhere in our first languages, on all the media. And we even have the road shows where we need to leverage on whatever we can to preach this gospel, that it is not all lost to go to a TVET institution and get skilled. And we want to show the benefits of getting these skills. And we want to tell them that the government and other working partners that we are working with are ready to help us to be able to place them in the skilled areas, both locally and even internationally. So we are coming up with that communication strategy, where we are going to, we are working with even people like Safaricom, who are going to help us get this message across. We are going to work with people like you, or the media houses, and we are going to preach the gospel. The other thing we are doing is that we are changing the face of our institutions. And we are speaking with the Council of Governors, where the VTCs, the Vocational Training Institutes, what we called village polytechnics, formerly, are placed, because that is where the youth who are really in the village, we need to encourage them to go there. But so we are working, like I've said, with the Council of Governors, so that we are able to speak to them to upscaling even the face of these institutions, so that we can encourage our youth to go there, because nobody wants to go to a place that looks dilapidated, But when you look at our other colleges, the government has done a lot. They are beautiful. When you go to Arvist, go to Eldoret National Polytechnic, go to Kabete here. They are beautiful institutions. Kabete Polytechnic, or it is National Polytechnic. They are beautiful places to be in, so that we encourage our youth and tell them these are the places to be in, and just like any other child going to school, they can access help loans. Well, we already have funding from government at about 60%. So they for the rest, they can get help loan, they can get all these funding facilities that are available for them to be able to be in school. So we want to preach the gospel, and I am determined to pick it up from where I have found, and be able to encourage as many youth as possible. Then we have what we call the Kenya National KNQ Qualifications Authority. where there are very many people who know how to do things. They juakali, but they are not certified.
Artisans?
They're artisans, they're not certified. So we want to bring them, we want to do what we call recognition of prior learning, so that we are able to see at what level they fit. We are able to certify them so that now they can also get engaged even across the country. The other thing we are doing is we want to work very hard to get international or other institutions training the same skills that we want to train, so that we get a double certification, where you can get a certificate from our institution and also an institution, say in Germany, like you are a welder who is recognized both in Germany and in Kenya. So we want to do that dual training. And we are looking for ways of getting really dual certification for so that they are internationally recognized. And when we take this message out, they'll be interested. They'll be encouraged to come to our space, and they can be recognized across the waters.
I hear you.
Yes.
Certification of the students.
Yes.
And also just trying to ensure they are going to be learning in a good space.
Yes.
At least also make those that feel like TVET'S just you go to a TVET when everything is not working.
Yeah.
But that's what you're trying to do away with.
Yes, to ensure that things are working.
Yes.
The government has helped us come up with good trainers. I can assure you, Doreen, our trainers, our principals are good. Yes, they know what they're doing. They are well placed in their space. The government is in the process of recruiting another 1,300 trainers for us, among others. We actually requested right now for 3,300, but we've been allowed right away to recruit 1,300, so that they have trainers. And again, we are working with industry, and we are changing our curricula also to ensure that our trainees are 70% in industry, because we want them to be hands-on trained. We are working with our development partners. Time they are through with their education, they are actually skilled. We are also changing our assessment space, so that even the examinations, the assessment that is going to be done, it is going to be skills-based. It is going to be practical-based, not theory anymore.
Well said.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Mercy, quite a lot to talk about in regards. Dr. Esther, sorry. Talk to me about that idea of looking at TVET'S in terms of creating job opportunities in infrastructure, development, manufacturing. What mechanisms have been put in place? And even just from where you sit in your ministry, Dr. Esther, what are you doing as far as that is concerned?
Employability.
Yes.
I think right now, Doreen, what I want to run away with, what I am running with right now, is putting the correct curricula in place. Because as we speak now, Doreen, if a company came into Kenya today and they want 1,000 plumbers to work with, where would I get them from? They are not skilled. We actually will not get them. So I am not even thinking about the level of employability now. I am thinking and concentrating on change of curricula. Curricula has to be changed. Curricula has to be reworked to the skills space, where we are going to graduate a student in plumbing, in welding, in absolute housekeeping, in hairdressing, among others. So I may not even think about employability now, because who am I going to tell your industry that they can employ right now? Where, without skills, where are the welders? Where would I get the welders from? So I am taking time, and and this is what we are speaking about in ministry right now, where the concentration right now is on skills, where we are going to ensure that we are breaking curricula into the skills set, so that in a few years time, then we are going to say we can employ all 1,000 youth in this industry. But right now, Doreen, they are not there.
Training is where the focus is right now.
Training and curricular change and development is where the focus is right now. And that is why I am saying yesterday we spent a whole day with the principals speaking into this. And we are in agreement that we are going to rework the curricula so that we have the skill set trained and graduated. Then we can talk about, well, because we are also having the housing, the presidential housing scheme going on, we are speaking to our institutions and we are telling them, like those who have been training in building technology, they should work in that scheme. And any other government major project coming up, our students should be able to go there, so that we are calling it TVET on wheels, so that they are able to train as the work is going on. But for me, that is not where the focus is right now. The focus is, like I have told you, on building the pertinent skills.
I hear you.
Yes.
Well said. Now, that you are talking about curriculum, and this is also where your focus is highly built on. Right now, we are still on the CBC, as is the competency-based curriculum. Do you think this is the silver bullet? Is this what you had been needing for the longest time, to begin the reshaping as early as toddlers?
I think so. I think CBC is the way to go. And what is so exciting for me about CBC is, well, the beginning of the skill set from that age, but also the culture, the child culture training, where we are adopting something like a culture child training, like I've seen in Japan, where a child will even tell you thank you for the smallest thing you've done. I went to my mother church not too long time ago, and a child came to me and told me, "Excuse me, madam, you are very smart." That niceness, for lack of a better word, that CBC is training our child to be. Because Doreen, you and me will agree that you can be very well trained. You can have gone to the highest level of education or even skilling, but when you are a nice person, you are not a nice person, nobody wants to work with you. So character shaping is so admirable to me as far as CBC is concerned. And secondly, by the time that child is out of either primary or secondary education, because I am a respecter of the fact that we all are not equally endowed. And I've always told people, we all don't have to be university professors. We all don't have to be doctors like me, but you can be the best at where you are. So by the time this child is out of primary or secondary, they have a very good idea of which space they would want to be. Because for me, even when I was still at the university, a lot of people would come and ask me, "Madam, which program do you think I can fit into?" And my question would always be, what is it that you feel you want to do? Where is your excitement? You know? So for me now, with CBC, by the time this child is at a certain level, they are quite aware of really where they would like to go, and it will be very easy for me and even the university level to skill them.
Well said. And we can clearly all agree that CBC is the way to go. However, Madam PS, it would be a bit of a disservice for me not to ask this question, given you sit in the Ministry of Education, much as it's inclined towards TVET, and there has been concerns, particularly from parents, learners alike, various stakeholders, because even as we speak, there are some schools where teachers are not yet there. Learners already reported, on 30th of January, about 2 weeks back. What is the ministry doing?
The ministry is doing everything they can. Let me tell you, Doreen, things in the ministry or in the government space, because of the bureaucracies and many other things, do not happen overnight. Like they could be happening in KBC. So Yes, I know the TSC has been working very hard, honestly, to come up with the number of teachers that there are. Everything may not be rosy right now, but I know my colleague, Dr. Mbelio, is on his feet. I know my boss, CS Mashogu, is on his feet to make sure things happen the way they should. They may not be overly rosy right now, but we are not sleeping in the ministry. We are doing whatever it takes. I know that recruitment is going on. It may not happen overnight, but it will eventually come to be. But that might be a bit of a downside. But when you look at the upside, at least the students are in their institutions, though they might be waiting for the facilitator. They might be waiting for the facilitator, but at least they are in their space. Maybe they are CBCing in the area of getting to know each other and getting to learn the much they can learn with the few teachers who are there. At least they are in their space. And me and you agree, we parents also appreciate when a child is able to go to school. They may not right now be getting 100% of what they want at the school space, but at least about 80%, if not more, is in place. And what is not in place, we are doing everything possible to bring it on board.
Madam PS, just allow me to ask you one last question as far as CBC is concerned. Yes, you're saying that almost 80% is in place, but there are also some other concerns. One teacher for 14 subjects, and we are talking about competency-based curriculum. We want to channel skill-based learners who would even begin appreciating TVET'S as early as then. Is this practical?
It may not appear rosy, and I think, Doreen, that is what I said earlier on, right now. Okay. Because everything starts with its own challenges. I agree. Yes. And eventually, we are going to walk there. The employing of teachers and even the boards, the school boards, we are encouraging them also to do as much as they can to be able to fill in this space, because we are Kenyans. We must help one another. The President Ruto has said that he came to a space where even money was a problem. So all of us Kenyans have got to work together, have got to support one another to be able to do what must be done there as we dream of a more rosy situation to come in due course.
Well said. Kenyans who are listening to you, what would you want them to know, even as we talk about reorienting our minds as a country, moving away from just thinking about white-collar jobs, thinking about universities as the only place to get education of higher learning, as we try to sort of like begin to get attracted to TVET'S and vocational training and skill-based kind of learning? What would you want them to know?
I want Kenyans to know that we walk a certain path, a space or a time of rethinking our direction and our doing things does come. This is it. Even Paul in the Bible was going somewhere, and when he got to Damascus, something happened, and he has to rethink. And he has to rethink his direction. I am not saying we have been treading as dangerous a path as Paul, but what I am saying is
we need to have a Damascus moment.
We need to have a Damascus moment. We need to arrive at Damascus. This for me is always a very good analogy, where we need to see what we have not done absolutely right and be able to rethink our space. And let me tell you, Doreen, it is not wrong to be wrong, but it is wrong to be consistently wrong. So, or out of space. So, we have done things in a certain way for a long time, and we need now to rethink, and we need to check what we need to do differently so that we can arrive at a different space which is going to be better than where we have been.
Well said. It is not wrong to do a wrong thing, but it is wrong to consistently and continually do it.
Yes.
I hear you. I have definitely been speaking to Dr. Esther Mworia, who's the Principal Secretary, TVET'S, of course, just outlining for us what they're doing as a ministry as far as revamping TVET'S institution is concerned, getting those skill-based graduates, and how basically we as a country can also reorient our minds to look and think about vocational training, skill-based kind of education.